Moving to San Antonio is not something that everybody should be doing, and I'm about to give you a local's perspective of exactly why. These are some of the most important straight honest facts that you really need to know here, and some of the most important questions that I get down in the comments of these videos, and also whenever people are calling me, talking to me about San Antonio, as well as some of the different things that I personally have seen about San Antonio that I'm not a huge fan of. We're gonna talk about crime, politics, weather, and property taxes, along with a few other things that you may not have even thought about. So the first thing we're going to talk about is politics. So San Antonio as a whole is actually a blue city, like most other major cities in the country, but Texas through and through is a red state. And that is shown multiple times by some of these major polarizing figures that have come through on the left and tried to win different seats within Texas. Namely, most recently Beto O'Rourke, or Robert O'Rourke as his real name is. The candidate went through the governor races last year and tried to unseat Governor Greg Abbott. Did not happen. He was beaten by an 11% margin on a state hold, but whenever it came to San Antonio, he actually won San Antonio and Bexar County by 16%. Beto also tried to make a run at Ted Cruz's seat, lost, and he also tried to run for president in 2020 and lost that as well. So he hadn't had a great history in Texas, but just kind of seeing somebody like this who has had a lot of popularity within Texas, you can kind of see where the differences come with the left and the right whenever it comes to the state. Now, looking at this map right here, you can see that pretty much all of the major cities in Texas voted blue, which is the case, like I said, across the country. But what you can't see is that San Antonio specifically had probably one of the lowest margin of victories for Beto whenever it came to the governor's election. And Austin, he won by I think 40 or 50%. In Dallas, it was like 20 or 30%. So it's a big, big difference whenever San Antonio is only 16%. You can kind of see it's a much more even keel match on the city itself. Now, whenever you look at the city itself, if you're, wanting a Democrat place to live, nothing against you there, move to San Antonio, and the city itself is a blue city, but that's all major cities. Looking at Texas and the counties all around Bexar County and San Antonio, very, very heavily Republican, heavy red voting counties. Pretty much everything across the board was at least a 40% margin of victory in every surrounding county outside of San Antonio. So if you're looking for a red place to live, you can come into one of these suburbs just outside of San Antonio and still be in a county that votes red. Now, one of the major things, of course, is the weather. Now, as you can see, I am sweating my butt off right here. I am out here doing these videos. It is 103 degrees. It has been 105 like all summer, it seems like. And there's no end in sight, really. I mean, except for maybe a cold front that I think is going to bring the temperatures down into like the mid 90s, maybe touching 90 degrees next week, and I'm hoping and praying that that actually happens. But the other big thing that Texas, or San Antonio specifically, has is hailstorms. We don't really get any tornadoes here. They get tornadoes up north, kind of in the Dallas area, Austin area. No hurricanes you have to worry about like out over in Houston. If the hurricane comes through, even like when Harvey came through, we got a lot of rain, some heavy wind, but nothing just devastating and nothing that really damaged a lot of stuff. But the hailstorms is what we get every single year. You get one or two major hailstorms that come through a section of San Antonio and damage a lot of roofs, damage some cars. So you just got to prepare for that kind of stuff. Makes insurance cost a little bit higher, but overall it's not like a huge drastic difference. I mean, I can tell you my insurance that I'm paying for right now is like $1,000 a year total for my house. It's nothing, but you just have to take that into consideration. Prepare your cars, be able to get into your garage, have a carport you can park under, all those different things. Even just west of San Antonio in a little town called Hondo, they just recently in 2021 had the state record hailstone that they found 6 inches in diameter. That coming through would absolutely devastate anything. So you just got to be paying attention to that kind of stuff. Be prepared whenever it comes to the April, May timeframe when those big storms do come through, and be ready to put your car under some protection in your garage, under a carport, something to protect it, and just hope that it's not anything major. Most of the time it's usually like pea size to like dime size. It doesn't do any damage to anything, but you do get those big ones occasionally. Now, next thing we're going to talk about is something that I really never had on my radar because it's never been a big problem for me, but it's something that a lot of people have talked about, especially in the comments and messages that I've been getting. Is stray dogs. Apparently, a lot of people think that there's a lot of stray dogs, a big stray dog problem in San Antonio. And from my research, it actually is a problem. There's actually 35,000 stray dogs on average. That's kind of the estimate based off a recent survey in San Antonio. It's a ton. But the biggest thing is that like 85 to 90% of those are owner dogs. Like they actually are dogs that the owners are just letting run loose. They're not, anything that is actually a wild animal or anything like that. So it's something that you kind of have to take with a grain of salt, right? So the biggest thing that I want to tell you about when it comes to stray dogs, whatever, I live in the city of San Antonio. I live in the suburbs now, so I don't really have to worry about it. But in the city of San Antonio, when I lived there a couple years ago, I never had any problems with stray dogs or stray animals in general, but I never saw any stray dogs. We would go walking every night, Never had a problem with it in our neighborhood up on the northwest side of town. So I don't really see it as a huge deal. I know it's concentrated kind of on the east, southeast sides of town is what, some of the surveys were saying. But another big thing that I want to mention too is that San Antonio actually spends more per resident on animal control and kind of controlling this problem than just about any other city in the entire country. They're only behind Austin and San Francisco on how much they spend per resident on animal control. Now, another big negative that we've dealt with, and I think just about everybody across the country has dealt with, but I want to touch on why San Antonio this is such a big negative, is the real estate price growth. So looking at buying a house here, it is not easy anywhere right now. The growth over the last 2 years, just kind of blew affordability out of the water. 40 to 50% growth across the country. San Antonio specifically, our average price point at the beginning of 2020 was $267,000, and right now it's $385,000. 46% growth in just a little over 3 years. It's very, very hard to find a good affordable home, especially given the way interest rates are right now. It doesn't help anything. I can remember just a few years back, I was looking for houses that were around $250,000. I was looking at houses in Stone Oak, in Boulevardy, in Bernie, some of the most expensive areas in San Antonio, $250,000. We were finding 2,800 square foot houses in gated communities that were $280,000. And these houses right now are going for easily $550,000 to $600,000. It is almost unfair to think about, the first-time home buyers right now and kind of what they're going through. Now, San Antonio is still one of the most affordable places to buy a house by far in the entire country. We still have plenty of new construction homes under $300,000. We still have a lot of homes that are in that mid 200s. I just had a client purchase a home, brand new home for $230,000. Really nice home over on the west side of San Antonio. So those options are still out there. But the growth has really made it difficult for people to buy their first home and to buy an affordable home in San Antonio. And the other issue that comes with that is the property taxes. So San Antonio and Texas as a whole, the taxes go up every single year based off the market value. They reassess that value every year. So property values going up equates to taxes going up. So you really have to pay attention to that. Now, the exemptions that you get homestead exemptions that limit how much they can go up every year. It's a max of 10% year-over-year growth right now. And there's actually several issues on the ballot that are actually increasing how much you get taken off of your property taxes with that homestead exemption, which is something we have to vote for this year, which I full-heartedly believe is going to pass with flying colors. But until that happens, you still have, a little bit of a reduction, maybe about $500-600 in savings with the homestead exemption on the total property taxes. But just to give you an idea, you're looking at, for a $250,000 home, if you're at a 2 to 2.5% tax rate, you could very easily paying $6,000 to $7,000 to $8,000 a year, depending on what that market value is with the county. It's a big issue that a lot of people have with Texas, is these property taxes, and the values going up has directly affected that, and has directly affected affordability for a lot of people, where these taxes have just gone through the roof. I can tell you personally, my property value over the last couple of years has actually gone down a little bit for some reason. Last year and this year, my tax value went down, whereas some people just within my neighborhood, it actually went up. There's no rhyme or reason about it. The market has continued to go up here, but there's different things that are going on, and you also have to look at it too. When these property values go up, some of the school districts specifically have a budget surplus, so they have to actually reduce their tax rate so that they're not getting too much money from these property taxes. So the next year they'll go in and drop their tax rate. Mine has actually dropped from like 2.13, I believe, all the way down to like 1.97 in the last 2 years. So it's a big difference in property tax rate, almost getting close to a 0.25% as far as how much it dropped. So that happens a lot. Property taxes are just a constant battle that you're always going to have to deal with when you're moving to Texas. And now, since we're talking about real estate, I want to remind you guys that I have lived here my entire life. I absolutely love it here. I've been a real estate agent here for a long time, and I currently run the Life in San Antonio, Texas home group. We have helped hundreds of people just like you relocate here to the San Antonio area. So whether you're moving here in 2 days or 2 years, feel free to call, text, or email us anytime, day, nights, or weekends. You can schedule a call with us. We have a phone number and email down in the description, as well as that link to schedule a call, or you can just copy this email down right here. But either way, reach out to us if you have any questions whatsoever. I absolutely love helping people just like you move here to San Antonio, and I would love to talk with you guys, kind of answer any of your questions you have. Like I said, whether you're moving here now or whether you're looking at long term, we can help you out for sure. Now, another big thing that a lot of people don't really consider a whole lot is the HOAs. Now, out of the active listings in San Antonio, 68% of the homes on the current market are in an HOA of some sort. Now, the biggest thing that a lot of people don't really know is that the San Antonio HOAs are not like these HOAs that you hear about in California or Florida or any of these other places where they're literally out there controlling your life. You're paying thousands of dollars a month for these HOAs. Now, most of them are around like $500 to $600 a year or less. You have a couple of the big luxury communities that pay a little bit more. You know, you're talking maybe like $2,000 to $3,000 a year. Those are kind of the high-end ones, like some of the uber luxury communities like Cordillera Ranch and the Dominion. But everything else is pretty minimal. And even with a lot of those, like $500 to $600 a year, some of those include gated communities. Some of those include, you know, just amazing amenities with pools and clubhouses, fitness rooms, like everything that you could ever need in a neighborhood. And that's all you're paying is $500 to $600 a year. So in the grand scheme of things, it is very minimal compared to some of these other places. And really, they're not out there really controlling you a whole lot. There's some that are worse than others, don't get me wrong, but they're not, you know, telling you that, hey, you know, you can't paint the inside of your house X, you know, this color, whatever. Some of them have rules on what colors you can paint the outside of your house if you're gonna repaint it. Some of them have to get approval for putting up like flagpoles, playscapes, and things like that. But pretty much all of them will allow just about anything that you want. It's just a matter of going through that approval process. So it's just a little bit annoying from that kind of stuff, but it's not like they're out there controlling your every move like some of these other places are in other countries or in other states where you're actually, you know, paying a monthly fee and they're just gouging you and not doing anything for you. Now, another thing we just have to talk about because of big cities, and it's something I haven't really talked about here on this channel at all, is the homeless population. Now, San Antonio actually had a slight increase from last year to this year, from 2022 to 2023 of the homeless population, and it increased by about 5%. But what I can tell you is that most of those are sheltered homeless people. So you're looking at 2,281 total that are sheltered versus 3,155 that are you know, total homeless. So it's a smaller number that is unsheltered and out on the streets, and you know, hopefully that does continue to change, because between last year and this year, the amount of sheltered homeless people actually increased by 15%, which was amazing to see. I mean, that's a pretty big change and from one year to the next, and hopefully that trend can continue and we can continue to get some of these people back on their feet and back out into the community and, you know, helping to you know, make their lives even better. Now, one of the big issues right now, of course, is immigration and migrants coming to San Antonio. I get that question all the time, especially given how close San Antonio is to the border. We are the closest big city in the state of Texas to the border at 150 miles away, not counting El Paso, which of course is right on the border. But San Antonio actually gets an average of about 600 migrants coming through here a day right now. And all of those are mostly going into, you know, different stations and kind of staying put until they're getting moved to different, their final destinations. San Antonio isn't the final destination for a lot of these people. It's just a central point where there's a lot of easy access to a lot of the other big highways to get up north, get out east, all those different places. But the big thing is that San Antonio is doing a lot whenever it comes to these migrants. There's, you know, different churches that are kind of stepping up and housing these migrants so they're not just roaming the streets. There's different community groups that are, you know, going in and trying to help these people and making sure that they're not just out there causing trouble and that they're getting the help that they need. You can look it up, and just about every official in San Antonio is calling for more help from Washington. And of course, Washington is not giving them any help right now, right? And this is even coming from, you know, the Democrat officials here in San Antonio. They are desperately trying to get help from Washington and talking about how they are not getting any of that help. So San Antonio is a city of immigrants, and they always will be. We have a very diverse population here, and so you immigrate here the right way, this is a really, really good place for you to end up. But I think that until this border crisis is fixed, there is going to be some major issues with these people that are coming through, and you know, kind of what's happening with them. And it's not fair to anybody, people that are here, citizens of the United States, or these migrants that are trying to find a new home, right? It's just not fair to anybody, and it really needs to be taken care of. Another major issue a lot of people don't think about is that San Antonio only has one major professional sports team, and that's the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs are probably you know, one of the most iconic professional teams in the entire country, just the dynasty that we had in the early 2000s with Tim Duncan and David Robinson, Tony Parker and Monty Ginobili and Greg Popovich, of course. But we don't have any other really big teams. And we have the San Antonio Missions minor league baseball team. We have essentially like a minor league soccer team. We have an XFL team, football team that plays, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's a lot of good little things to see. But we also have some big college teams. We have UTSA, which is a pretty good Division I football team. A couple other different colleges that you can go see play, you know, some smaller time games. And then of course you have high school football. San Antonio high school football is outstanding, and we have some of the best high school athletes in the entire state of Texas, the entire country that play here. So that's that's something that definitely takes the cake whenever it comes to a lot of these sports. Now, one of the most major things that a lot of people ask about and nobody wants to talk about, and that is crime. San Antonio's crime is not something that we're super proud of. Our violent crime was actually down 15% from last year, which is always a positive whenever it comes to these things. So you really have to take it with seeing what we're really doing to improve the issue, right? And I think the San Antonio Police Department is doing a lot about that. Now, when you look at this crime map specifically, the crime map shows that, like most big cities, the major crime is isolated within the inner city. So when you're looking at places to live, keep this in mind. Do your own research. You know, I can't speak specifically on whether or not an area, one area or not is a safe place to be, but you can look at this map. You can do some more research, look at the San Antonio Police Department crime map, crime blotter, see where the calls are coming in at, and just notice that on this map, the outskirts have a lot less crime concentration than the inner city of San Antonio, which is, like I said, this is the case with pretty much all big cities across the country, and San Antonio is no different. Now, regardless of the crime, the hailstorms, the heat, the lack of professional sports team, professional baseball team, for me, in my opinion, I would never live anywhere else. San Antonio is the best city that you could possibly live in, and that is going to be my stance my entire life. I'm never going to move anywhere else. Now, if you are thinking of moving to San Antonio, like I said before, you need to watch this video right here to get more detailed information about the city specifically. And also, if you have any questions whatsoever, like I said, reach out. My information is down in that description. And also, if you made it this far, be sure you hit that subscribe button. Comment below what you think, like this video, and until the next one, I will see you there.